Okay, so what we've done is we've created a new folder with a copy of a website project, a small little web page that Codex created, and it's just a little web page that lets you, I think, create tasks and modify and edit them, like a little Trello board type thing. Anyway, we're gonna use that for testing. So it's pristine. It doesn't have any test cases in it right now, nothing. So let's just go straight with the generic carbon command. What that will do, and we'll just tell it whatever you want here, but we'll just say W5. So work on the W5 folder copy. So it's going to analyze. So what Carbon's going to do is Carbon's going to go out and analyze all of the code in there, any documents, static files, whatever is in there, MD files. And then it will start thinking about, yep, here we go. It's looking through documentation and analyzing all the code and then figuring out some test cases to write. And you'll notice in here, it avoids destructive, paid, public, credential kind of issues to start with, because that gets a little more complicated and doesn't require user input. It can do those, but later. And then it'll identify and rank the highest functional, usability, accessibility, security, privacy, reliability, performance, etc. test cases. And also notice here, it looks to see what's the primary use case here. What does a customer or user of this app want to do? So verify those kind of core scenarios, focus on those. Yeah, so now here we've got a live view of Carbon running. It's kind of fun that this opens inside of the Codex itself too. It's not like a separate, you can load it in a separate web page, but you can see its progress as it's inspecting the workspace, thinking about which tools to focus on. Let's see, yeah. Yep, so it found a small JavaScript web UI with no existing tests, continuous integration, API schema, or anything. And you could have put login credentials if it needed them, or we could have put username, passwords. We could have put, any preferences like focus only on UI or only focus on boundary cases, or after we said /carbon. You can say anything you want, and it will do that type of testing. Okay, so it's basically saying that it's at a quick confidence analysis. It says it's not assessed because there's not enough data even to know what the confidence interval is. All right. Okay, so, and by default, it'll create about 20 tests, mostly for demo purposes. You can even say, on the command line, you say /carbon, do 1,000 tests or whatever, right? And it will do that. I just picked 20 because it's quick enough to get a good little demo for people, and go from 0 to, a basic level of coverage pretty quickly. And it's predicting it'll take 20 minutes to run. Yeah, so you can see everything that's going as it's going. Well, here's the planned tests. So primary customer outcome works end to end. First use reaches meaningful value. Failure and recovery preserve customer value. So if something fails, you don't lose what you saved. Accessibility and WCAG. Quick API testing. Some content and information hierarchy testing. It's kind of general things that wants to verify in user interface, user experience. Yeah, so it generated by default 85, but it's only picking 20 for purpose of demo right now. And after this command, we can just say carbon continue or add the rest. Great. So this guy Cruz, let's see what he's doing in here. Okay, so it's launched a browser in the background to start testing it and executing these test cases. Now you can specify also, say carbon / you say always use Selenium or always use the AI coding agent's browser control or Playwright or whatever you want, and it will respect all that. Right now it's figured it's fast enough and good enough to just use the in-app browser agent inside of the AI coding agent. So, and interestingly, this actually is a preference most of the time, is to use this method because the tests are saved in terms of an intent, right? Not hard-coded flows through the application. So if the buttons change or the flow of the app changes, you can still verify those intents because on the fly, it's loading and running the browser and dynamically loading the application and testing it. If it was Selenium or whatever, you have saved selectors or saved procedural hard-coded paths that if they deviate at all, will break. But you can have it, definitely ask it to use Selenium or other frameworks if you wanted. So it's executing some tests, and doing some additional testing that isn't just like procedural code or something. It's actually looking at the HTML, for example, and JS for problems, for security issues, for accessibility problems. So really it's doing the equivalent of like hundreds and thousands of actual test cases, but you don't have to hard code them. And interestingly, if we change the application and there's new code is in there, it'll look at that new code and evaluate it with all of these things in mind to see if it would break anything or we need additional testing. It loads this browser in the background by default so that you can continue working, either coding or doing whatever you were doing before. You can see here, this is where it's loading up, and this little arrow shows it's controlling the page. But these are some of the, you saw that. It's interacting with the app right now and doing testing. So look here, it's testing save settings. So Carbon is doing all of this automation in real time right now. And it's never seen this project before 2 minutes ago. So as a test nerd, this is pretty exciting actually. You get a lot of coverage, and it's kind of the perfect white box tester because it also understands the code behind it. It can find any specifications, intents, even existing test cases, so it won't duplicate them. Let's see. Yeah, status movement, tag updates. Some task cards, these things are clickable elements, but they have no keyboard roll or focusability. So it's created these things and it's testing out the E2E kind of functionality and rendering of this app. And it's also taking screenshots. So it's taking screenshots to look for visual problems, right? Visual rendering issues, like look and feel. Even some accessibility can be tested through screenshots. Are the fonts large enough? Is contrast, enough? It's testing a 404 page rendering, I guess. And again, so this is all serialized on a single machine. So we could even look at some of the other instances here. But this could also be parallelized in the cloud. So you can run, so if it has 20 tests it wants to do, you can run them all in parallel in the cloud. You just need an API key. But all this, to be clear, all this you're seeing here and stuff is actually free right now, totally free. And we intend to open source it. It's just there's a lot of code to open source. That's painful. Take some time. If you want to help with that, reach out to us. Yeah, so it looks like it's now looking at all the results and starting to collate them. Maybe not yet. It's still running through his tests. And so what we should see here in a second is the test results, but in a confidence analysis. So not just, hey, this is a key thing. It's not just, hey, I wrote 20 tests, 100% of them pass. It also analyzes whether that's enough coverage to decide whether to ship this app or not. And then it'll give us a confidence score of, like, how ready is this to be shipped? That it'll be happy, that the company will be happy, users will be happy, and the tester won't get in trouble, or the developer won't get in trouble. But it'll do all that analysis. And I think here it's gathering all the data. So it records every single page load, screenshot, interaction, the intent of the interaction, what it expected to find during that interaction, and what it verified. So it's usually, by this point, it's collating all that data. Look at searching for joy, happiness, and surprise, because it'll also it'll create virtual persona users and ask them for their opinion on the website. So kind of like external, human feedback, and it looks to see if they said things that they liked about the app or not, to kind of do a summary analysis. Interestingly, it'll also test and show you things and check for things that you're missing. So like if the user assumed they would be able to say, assign it to somebody, but they weren't able to, it can say something like that. Say, hey, you're missing a feature, basically. So it doesn't just test what's there, it can also try to test and understand the things that aren't even implemented yet, but probably should be. I think what it might be doing here with username is it'll do testing for privacy. So if you have to put in a name, you put in your name, it'll check all the artifacts, like store.js, or probably, and also the console logs, and test the console logs and all the network activity too. So, but it'll look for like that username, like for instance if it's in the clear in network traces, then you might be bleeding or leaking PII. Yeah, so now I think it's collating the data to get test results to kind of measure more of a confidence, whether it's ready to ship or not, based on these test results. And you could be drinking a coffee or you can watch this. Okay, cool. So it's created 20, ran them, 2 personas worth of feedback. It tested 6 different page states. There's 18 artifacts. It didn't do cross-browser, obviously, yet. It didn't do network performance testing. It's just saying, which is what I think is awesome. It doesn't just do what it says it's going to do. It tells you what it didn't do and what it should do next. So you can just say, hey, Carbon, do more of them, and it will just do more. I mean, a lot of people think about automation in the past, that you couldn't, like it only just repeated what it was hard-coded once. It wasn't creative. It wasn't exploratory. It couldn't understand what it was doing. These are all totally solved now. It's wonderful with LLMs and AI, and if you have like a good QA agentic workflow, you can solve all these problems today. It does what people, they'll say automation isn't quote unquote testing, but it actually is. In fact, for folks that are skeptical, or if you want to you have a question about the value of this approach, generate a quick web page, test it yourself. And you can give yourself all day. I would suggest you give yourself all day to find any bugs, come up with a test plan, confidence intervals, look for security issues, privacy, accessibility, all that stuff. Take a full day, and then give the same quick project to Carbon, and let it create, say, 100 tests or something, and compare the results between the human and the machine. And you'll often find not just the machine did more, but the machine did a lot of things the human didn't think to do, and may not have ever thought to do them. So it's a new world for software testing. And the good news here is, okay, now it's preparing the final report. The good news for testers here too is you can take credit for all the bugs it finds, all the analysis it has. And then if you think, hey, it didn't test in this corner, or I always test this, or the business didn't know that, business wants us to super hyper on legal analysis, and we have a document that says to analyze it for legal. You can go and do that manually or automated, but particularly you can go in and you can actually just add that document. Down here, just go, hey, and add the legal document and say Carbon, and then add that legal document and say test for legal issues, and it will take that context and test specifically to verify with that legal context in mind. Now we'll do also, so we'll do WCAG reports, and even draft ACR stuff. So we'll build reports that you can use, that are used to submit, like a VPAT, a VPAT, and these other kind of reports where they show what was tested, what was found, and how well you score on that. And that's used to suggest to like regulatory agencies that you did due diligence on that, on WCAG and stuff. And that can often take usually external agencies, like tools plus people time. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, we've got a test result report. So it says hold. Hold means don't ship it yet. We don't know enough to ship it. The primary task journey works, but one high severity accessibility finding plus narrow layout problems, so responsiveness issues and usability failures, and a privacy issue materially limit the confidence it's ready to ship. Here's the testers. Here's the kind of testing perspectives that we used. Different AI testing agents had input on this report. Here's, okay, so it's shipping confidence. It's only 20 out of 100, which is like super low. And you can give it extra confidence. You can say, hey, this is just for a quick demo and to show my friend. And then maybe the confidence will go, okay, well then maybe we're up to 60, 70%, right, ready to ship based on that new context. Here's the biggest gaps, AKA issues or bugs, or things that need to be tested, which it can help you with, but you need to ask it to do it. And here's the command to do it. So if you do Carbon test, and then you put this context in there, it will test those things. So you just use another Carbon test command, and it will do more of the things it thinks it needs to check before giving you a higher confidence in shipping. Yep, some evidence, candidates, personas, readiness. This is just a quick overview because full report. And then you can get, oh, whoops, yeah, it scrolled again, updated. But you can get access to the token counts aren't computed because this is run inside of Codex, by the way, which you can't count them. If you're running on an API, it keeps track of all the token counts and costs. Oh yeah, but you can get all this stuff here, persona journeys, detailed run report, all the artifacts are saved, and in separate reports. So you can see all the details. The WCAG report, accessibility, the VPAT report, and then next actions to it recommends. And here are the next commands to run. So you can just click this, copy command, and then do that, and it will do that next task that it suggests to do next. If you'd said Carbon Auto or Carbon Loop, it would just automatically do these extra next steps continually. And they'll find next steps to keep testing and keep testing. So I hope that's a good introduction to Carbon, from testing a website from scratch, building all the coverage, reports, all in like what, maybe 20 minutes or something. Yeah, and it should help with your testing, take credit for the bugs, etc. If you want to check out the beta, it's free, and just sign up on testers.ai website. There's a banner at the top, and just click and sign up for the beta, and I'll get you connected to it and hooked in. This is the future of software frameworks. It's really a harness is the way to think about it, but it's also the future of software testing. And thanks for your time and for geeking out.